Hello and welcome to Stephen University. This week we are discussing political power and surprise! It's a Stephen bomb. Look at that.
It's a Stephen bomb, Stephen University week.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty much at this point been decided that not only are we doing this bomb, but we will be doing all the bombs as bombs, meaning that if the episodes aired as across a week, the Stephen University episodes will go out at that same time.
All the bombs,
which is really bad because there were two bombs that happened with a gap between them, but back to back, which means that at some point it's going to happen, Chris, where we do 2 weeks where we release 10 episodes.
Yeah,
Double bomb.
Fine.
Double bomb.
The people wanted it. The people have got it.
I know. Well, it was one of those things where like. We kept saying categorically, no, we won't be doing the first bomb no matter what. And then I looked at it and was just like, well, assuming you don't need to worry about the first part of that bomb, which is divided from the rest of it with episodes that need to be there, like Story for Stephen and stuff, you can then pretty much just do the bomb with the final 4 parts because they all aired together properly. So it's a 4-part bomb rather than the full 5-part bomb. Because otherwise that would have caused the episode order to be wrong. But we're doing the bomb, so people are getting what some people are getting what they asked for. We don't know what all of you wanted, but this is what's happening.
It's the reason that we had to do a bonus sort of. This is the real reason we did the pilot, so that it would align right for this. Can I just apologise before summing up this episode because basically I'm ill. So to make things quicker, and because the pilot is only 7 minutes, we decided to do the pilot and this one in the same session. But for the first time ever, and I can categorically say, there's a reason we've never done it before, and I don't think we'll ever do it again. We watched them both at once and then recorded both of the podcasts at once. And when it came to describing what happened in the pilot, you can audibly hear my mind go blank if you listen back. And I'm just like, because all I could think was the mayor gets really paranoid and Stephen gives a speech. And just in my ill, hazy state, I could not tell the difference between the pilot and this political power episode. So that was why that happened.
Yeah, maybe showing you the pilot on a day you were so ill you were off from work was maybe a bad idea.
Yeah. I mean, there's an element of like, if I'm not well enough to work, probably not well enough to do a podcast. But here we are, giving it a go.
Here we are indeed. So, welcome to our first Stephen bomb, Stephen Bomb 1. This one didn't have a name; it's just called a Stephen bomb. But as they go through, the bombs got names. So we'll like was it the week of what was the other one called? There's a few. Actually, reading out the names of those might actually be spoilery. So I'll stop myself before I say anything. But Chris, as we have done in our last few episodes, what was it about?
So this was the pilot episode about... No, I'm kidding. This was...
You know what was really bad? For a split second there, I went, oh no. I really thought that was possible.
This was Amethyst, Garnet and Pearl are clearly preparing based on the warning from Laphis. And they're preparing for the arrival of the actual Green Power Ranger. And Stephen is just fucking oblivious in quite a weird, like, unexcusable way. So he ends up buggering off with the mayor, who's annoyed because the gems have blown out the power with this device. So they go around the town dealing with that issue. And the mayor says about how sometimes you've got to give people confidence because you love them and you've got to shield them from things, which leads to Stephen giving the townspeople a speech which calms them down. Then he goes back to the gems and he's like, look, what's happening? And they tell him that they're scared and then the power comes back on.
Cool. Yeah, that's about it. It's
quite brief. I love the way you were like, you clearly then in your head were like, that felt a bit short and rushed.
No, it didn't. No, it's just. No, I was just thinking about it, and it's interesting to hear you describe it that way. Because for me, the Stephen being oblivious thing, I think the idea is that they're keeping it from him, like what's really like how serious it is. They're telling him it's all fine, and because he's a kid, he's believing them. But he's getting more and more hints.
But he watched the warning.
What's that?
He watched the warning video.
Yeah,
it was addressed to him.
But which I'm assuming the gems were just like, no, we got this. Whatever it is, that's fine. It won't be an issue. I think they were hiding how worried they were to make him less worried. That's why he's just like, great, I'll solve the problem with the power. I mean, you guys keep telling me this Peridot thing isn't really an issue, so great. Life goes on. You know what I mean? Like, when you're a kid, if you're told everything's fine by an adult, I think you'll... Personally, I feel like you buy it, you know.
Yeah, I guess.
And I guess that's the journey of the episode, because that's what they've been presenting to him, and the more he catches and he overhears conversations about it, the more he realizes that they are misleading him about how scared they are and how much trouble they're actually in. And I think that's how I view it, and it's really good because the story of the week, which is this Mayor Dewey story about lying to the town, really echoes Stephen's own situation, which is that he's being lied to. And when he realizes why Mayor Dewey is doing it is because he loves the townspeople, he doesn't want to upset them or hurt them or make them scared or panicked or anything like that. He realizes that's exactly why the gems are doing it to him, and he feels less angry about being sort of misled, because he realizes that they're doing it out of love, not out of anything sort of malicious. So that's when he sort of confronts them about it, and they all get on the same page, which is, sets us up nicely for the final 2 episodes of the season, titled "The Return" and "Jailbreak." So for me, it works a little better than you described there, just because I'm a little bit more willing to accept the idea that, like, the gems, they between seeing that warning we saw last week in the message and this, I'm presuming spent a lot of time telling Stephen that everything was fine. And that
I think that's fansplaining a little bit, but that's fair. I don't think you're wrong.
Well, it's particularly, I think this episode demonstrates it in the fact that they go out at night. Like they try to make it clear in like slightly more subtle ways that that's what's happening, because they have this thing where they go out at night to try their experiment to take out Peridot's robots, which is actually what leads to the town being without power. They do that, and then they sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? So they do that, and then Steven sort of just shows up, and they're like, oh crud, like that wasn't the plan. What are you doing here? Which actually later on in the episode, someone says, "What are you doing here?" And he's just like, "I live here," because they're in the house. I really like that joke. So in terms of your overall thoughts, though, do you like this one? Do you not like this one? How do you feel?
Yeah, no, I liked it. I will say I liked in particular the blend of the two storylines. Not only is it a compliment that they did that, it's good storytelling, but also I think they did it well. Like, I don't think it's not like in the first 5 minutes, or 3 minutes, because the show's only 11 minutes long, I was going, oh, these two stories parallel each other. Like, you almost realise when Stephen realises that they parallel, and that's some good writing.
That's incredible.
That was cool. I thought that was really strong. I like the stuff with the town. I like this idea that he's uniting the town. I couldn't work out whether Ocean Town was a joke or, an actual hint that something happened to a town as a result of everything that's happened, or whether it was like a joke. Yeah,
it's interesting that, isn't it? Because, based on what's in this episode, all you can take from it is that there was some sort of catastrophe, the exact circumstances you don't know, and then Mayor Dewey implies that that their mayor couldn't maintain control when their citizens rioted following that, and then, and it's clearly recent, because when Mr. Fryman laughs, no, he doesn't laugh.
He says too soon. Yeah,
he says too soon after Mayor Dewey jokes about the fate of the town. So it's like there's a lot of weird stuff going on there. Incidentally, and unrelated to that, sorry, very quickly, if you look in the crowd of people in that moment, behind the Frymans are Bill Dewey's usual bodyguards. They're ironically part of the revolt against him.
That's amazing.
I love that.
I will say as well, in terms of the mayor, thank you very much, Mayor. On my side, isn't he? It's not just me that thinks Pearl's hot.
Nah. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's right. I can't remember how he describes Garnet and Amethyst, but when he gets to Pearl, he does describe her as the hot one.
Yeah, and then when she appears, he's like, he ruffles his like tie and stuff.
Yeah, that's it. He goes, like, the tall one, the purple one, the hot one. That's right.
Yeah. I was like, you're not wrong, Mayor. You're not wrong.
This weird story, this weird sub story, that our podcast has acquired of you having a little weird crush on Pearl is becoming
little crush.
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying about, so you weren't sure how to take this thing about the other town.
Yeah, so I thought that was engaging and interesting. I think it was a very best case scenario episode, I think, because worst case scenario is that, the penultimate episode before the final two, which I'm assuming from references you've made is a two-parter, or thereabouts. So either the penultimate episode to that ignores the warning and has nothing to do with it, and that would be shit. or it's a 3-part finale, which would be a different conversation. So given that it has to build suspense, build fear, unite the town if they have to get involved, make the gems be honest with Stephen, it does everything I think you would want an episode of its placing to do.
Yeah, it's challenging, isn't it? Because the episode had to bridge the gap between getting the warning and the thing that they were being warned about sort of maybe occurring. And I'm saying maybe because I'm not going to tell you for sure what happens in the next episode, obviously. I'm not going to tell you anything about that. But you can you can make assumptions based on the pacing of the show. For sure.
It's the series finale, Dan, and there's this big threat coming, and they're gonna leave the threat until the first episode of series 2, probably. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't take a genius to make a reasonable assumption, and I won't even confirm that, but it wouldn't take a genius to be assuming at this point that threat is coming. So you've got to sort of bridge that threat with an episode, and because I don't think it's right to go directly from the warning to the thing. You need a little bit of breathing room. So this is this is a perfect way to it sets up the tension and ramps it up even more by really giving us an idea of how fearful the gems are, while giving us some character building stuff, a tiny bit of world building, and then also uniting the town and sort of showing us how the town are together. And it's for that and for many other reasons, it really does manage to achieve an awful lot in a short space of time. And while doing that is vastly entertaining, it's very funny. So that's I think there's a lot of really good stuff in here.
Yeah, completely agree. It does everything you would want it to do. I do think that. And I think you even get some Mayor Dewey, we go deeper into his character than we ever have before. So you even get a bit of character development on a character you wouldn't be expecting to. So do you know what I mean? They even chuck in that for people as well.
Yeah, 100%. Did you also like Mr. Fryman shitting on Ronaldo? Without Pyre, I can't even take care of my family. He points at Petey. He's like, well, this one's fine. Points to Ronaldo, but this one can't take care of himself.
Yeah. I thought that was very funny.
I thought you'd appreciate that. So yeah, I don't know. Did you also notice that obviously we've established from the shirt episode that Mayor Dewey is Buck's dad? Did you notice that while they were toppling over the truck, they had Buck in the background, not on the side of the gang, but on his dad's side, stood next to the truck, not involved in the actual mob?
No, I didn't notice that actually. It's just a shame. That sounds cool.
Well, it's just nice that they kept that in mind. They didn't just just draw him in as part of the town. I mean, you could have you could have not drawn him in at all, which maybe I don't know if that would have been better. But drawing him in there, but clearly showing that he's not with the mob is, I think, a nice enough way to handle that.
I liked how Steven's dad was in the mob, but didn't really say anything. Cause it's just a bit you kind of have to have him there, but at the same time, you are a bit what are you doing, Greg?
Yeah, 100%. Apparently, in the storyboarding process, Onion's bat had nails in it, but they were removed between storyboarding and the final product.
Jeez.
Maybe for that seem
that's dark.
Yeah, that does seem a little bit too... it seems maybe that's a bit too much. That's maybe why they changed it. Also, of course, this song at the end, replaced by just the sound of static. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did, yeah. That was a bit eerie, a bit creepy.
Yeah, very, very foreboding and ominous. Yeah. Intentional, I can assure you.
Okay.
Yeah. What else is there? What else? There's other stuff I'm sure we need to talk about, but I can't remember off the top of my head now. What?
What was did you feel any different about it watching it a second time?
No, this is another one of those sort of slightly more stopgappy episodes where I remembered the beats and the story points, but I didn't remember the finer details. And because it's been a little while since I've seen this now, a year or two at least, and I think that I enjoyed it. Feels like I enjoyed it more the second time around, because episodes like this fall through the cracks when you watch it in bulk. Because what you really take away from an episode like this is the A to B of how it gets you to the episodes that are very memorable, which are like your finales and your big tentpole episodes. Your Giant Womans, your Ocean Gems, and your, obviously, as we talked about, the upcoming finale. These big tentpole episodes hold up a show like this, and they stick out in your mind. Episodes like this, sadly, that they don't. They fall through the cracks. But rewatching it, it gives in isolation the way we've done it now, not bulk watching as such, is giving me a good, and analysing it afterwards, is giving me a good chance to appreciate the actual nuance of this episode and how much it actually gets to do, and how much the subsequent episodes owe to it, really, because you can have as great a finale as you want, but if you bungle the build up to that finale, then it won't feel earned. So episodes like this are really vital, and again, something you don't appreciate when you're watching the thing as a whole. It's a bit like cooking, I suppose. You make a dish, and like there's one ingredient in there that really brings the whole dish together, as it were, but you don't sit and go, you know what, I don't give onion enough credit, or I don't give garlic enough credit. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what episodes like this are. You know what I mean? They're essential to a show like this, and they're
the onion in a good dish, is what we're saying.
100%. And obviously that is the food substance, not the character from this show. It's the one podcast where I need to make that distinction.
Because if memory serves, you're not a big fan of onion, are you?
The food.
The food, yeah.
Yeah, no, not at all. No.
Yeah.
No, but I appreciate onion's importance to, like, spag bol.
Fair enough.
I understand it's a necessary evil in a dish like that. But my point is, though, these episodes, they're easy to overlook, I think, especially when you watch a show in bulk. And getting to sit down and watch it in this format, I'm very grateful to have had the chance to think about it and realise how clever some of the writing is here, particularly, as you pointed out, that you don't really spot the parallel until the characters do. And that's incredible writing, because so often in these sort of things, it's so on the nose and it's so hammered in that you're just like, you're seeing it way before the characters, and then you're just getting frustrated they haven't spotted it too. It's like, but your situation is just like this situation. How can you not see that? Whereas they do it here in a way that it's completely clear, but you still don't pick up on it until after it's been sort of pointed out, and then you go, oh, yeah, that makes so much sense. That's exactly right. He's doing the same thing. I genuinely feel very strongly about the episode now. I think it's a really good one. It'll never be in in a top 10, but it is very, very certainly a strong piece of the puzzle, and definitely needs to be merited as a really good piece of TV.
Yeah, I'd completely agree with that.
There you go. So that's part 2 of our Stephen bomb. There are 2 parts left coming. One tomorrow, one on Friday. Obviously, the return coming up next. Any thoughts going into the finale, Chris? What are you expecting? Anything at all?
Well, the return would suggest that maybe the gems return next week, or not evil Green Ranger returns. Lapis
Lazuli. Yeah.
And what was the final called?
So the first one's called The Return, and then the one after that's called Jailbreak.
Well, they return and put one of them in jail. This would be my guess.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's funny because the titles for this show are not always clear, and sometimes they're very intentionally misleading as well. I'm not specifically saying if that is or isn't the case here, but I'm just thinking on the whole, as a comment on this show, is they have got a habit of really misleading with their titles. There have been some ridiculous titles, particularly in the later seasons, that have got fans into a tizzy, and then it's turned out to be something very not what it seems.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because it's not Jailbreak. Is not, you wouldn't hear Jailbreak and go, "Oh, that must be the finale." Like, it's not a very. If it was called like The Gems Fall or whatever,
or even
Mirror Gem Ocean Gem, like it sounds like a 2-part finale. But Jailbreak, it sounds, if anything, more like a season premiere. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. It's so you're basically just expecting a return of either Lapis, Peridot, and or some form of Homeworld gems. You're expecting some of that to be.
I stand by my earlier prediction, Dan. Shit goes down.
That was a very apt prediction. Very apt prediction.
I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, that's fair. That is reasonable. Cool. So let's we'll leave it there then. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh, that's exciting to say. Yeah,
hey.
I'm looking forward to that. So that's hopefully. Oh, you know what the cool thing is? I just realized this goes out in like October, I want to say, and I've just pre-ordered the vinyl of the soundtrack. It was very expensive, like £40, a lot of money. 4 vinyls though, looks beautiful. But I won't be getting it till towards the end of the year, so hopefully I'll have that by the time this goes out, Chris. That's an exciting
that'd be
thought.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do a video showing it off. Oh, I don't have a decent camera anymore. Probably won't.
Maybe on the podcast here, tell you if it's good.
Yeah. So that is everything. I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham.
And we'll speak to you tomorrow as we discuss The Return.